Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Again, as usual, it's been a hot sec. I definitely had to come on here because I know it's been more than well overdue anyway. Not too late, but still overdue, do you know what I mean? This video anyway was to focus on my feedback and my review based on the recent Marvel success, and I'm glad it is a massive success, and that is based off Legend of the Shang-Chi Legend of the 10 Rings, Marvel's latest movie to be released within the last 2 weeks, and again another hit that they've had in their hands. The funny thing about this movie was when it first released, it opened, not that it opened up poorly, but people were very quick to jump on it and say that, to come out to believe that the movie was going to be an instant flop. It wasn't going to be that good. You know how some of these reviews are in it as they come out anyway, but this is Marvel we're talking about in general. They never do anything poor anyway. People were just very quick to jump into his back. I don't know what for. I do believe there's some people that just felt because it's Asian led movie that it was going to do crap. So you do get that kind of ignorance out there in the movie industry, even by fans as well. But yeah, I know I'm a bit late to this, but it's still something that I felt that I just had to catch up on. I felt this is a film I respect. I loved and I respected it, and it definitely deserves its due. And in order for me to pay that due, pay that respect, I definitely had to come out and do this video. Now, to get into it, anyway, first of all, hold on one sec. Let's just have a look. Just thinking about putting on my light. Yeah, a bit bright. We might get these little. Okay, back to what I was saying today. Back on my review of this movie. I mean, first of all, it was an absolutely outstanding movie, both from a storytelling perspective and both from a visual perspective. I mean, it's clear that they obviously had a vision for this movie. It's clear that they knew what they wanted to do, the first Asian-led character, and you could just see that in everything throughout the movie. Yeah, it was definitely clear in terms of everything that they did. Now, the first aspect, I've got a couple notes here anyway. Where I'm even going to start off with. Let me start off with the story anyway. I want to start off with the story because obviously Shang-Chi is new to the MCU. And it is an origin story, so we get to know about where he's been throughout all the years. Now, what we do know, first of all, is that him and even his friend Katie, we know that they probably survived the blip. We know they survived the blip because of some of the dialogue that went on. I think it was even the friend that was trying to tell them where they are in their life, that how they live in a world without where people can just disappear and so on and so forth. So we do know that he's been out there whilst the Avengers have been doing their thing. I felt the movie was very personal because, as we knew, he got dragged back into the past, which involved, getting back into a conflict with his father, who was actually the real Mandarin, but obviously distanced himself from that. Obviously, we'll get into that in a bit. So there was a lot. The movie was a very personal. It was very personal how they went about it. So him with the father, they got Katie involved as well. I really enjoyed this aspect of the movie in regards to the personal touch, because it gave us a different take or an expansion on what the Mandarin was supposed to be. So, for example, if you look back at Iron Man 3, obviously I know I'm probably going a bit ahead here, but obviously we know about the whole Trevor Slattery thing. I thought it was very good and genius how they kind of brought him into the story. But what they did was they kind of retconned what happened before. So they continued it in terms of Slattery still impersonating the real Mandarin, and obviously we saw the implications and we explained what happened to him after that. But they obviously retconned the fact that what did they retcon about him? I've forgotten. Shit. What did I say? What did they retcon about him? Well, that, to be fair, that wasn't even the actual Mandarin who they were trying to flipping portray. Do you know what I mean? As shown by Tony Leung's performance and what he was telling them, how That's what they were. That's what they were. That's what fucking doing. Retconning the fact that he is called the Mandarin. He is a Mandarin. He said that's the name that they gave him. That's not me. That was never me. He said that. Obviously, they didn't like how they showed him himself. But in terms of the Mandarin, so they kind of just distanced themselves from that version in that aspect. And then obviously he gave them his real name. I think it was Wen Wu. His name was Wen Wu. So obviously, as during the course, before I go into depth about the movie, what I want to say is, like, as the movie progressed, you can just see how much more personal it was getting. Obviously, he eventually starts to blame Shang-Chi for the death of the wife. You know, seeing as the kid, he just stood there while he let them die. But my question to that is, though, where did you go? Obviously, we saw him come back, but he obviously went off, not thinking that these people would come after him at some point. So I do think him himself should kind of take some responsibility for that and some accountability. He never thought, like, he left them unprotected and didn't think these people would come back for revenge. So part of that tells me it's slightly part of his fault, you know. It's part of it. It's definitely, he has something to answer for in that aspect. But it's interesting that they went with this route, because you can feel other aspects of his character. You can feel like he was ruthless, especially when they showed his backstory and so on with the 10 rings. My God, the visuals on that was nuts. He was not to, if he has these 10 rings, he was not to be played with. But yeah, I mean, it's like on the other side of the argument, it's like they made him a very relatable villain. They gave him like a kind of motive. Do you know what I mean? And it does make sense. Like, obviously, if we were in his position, we might consider trying to get your wife back or a loved one back. Do you know what I mean? So they gave him something for us to kind of latch onto in order to kind of understand him more. And I felt that's where this movie did a very good job. It wasn't just a Mandarin who wanted to just be a terrorist for the sake of being a terrorist. Yes, he wanted power, but then at least we saw the other side, which we're now starting to see with a lot more Marvel villains. The Marvel villains from Phase 4 have been absolutely top notch. They've been mostly top notch since about 2016-17, when they obviously now started to incorporate the villains more into the narrative of the actual story. They've started giving us more depth, so they don't just seem one-dimensional villain. I want to destroy this. Obviously, I've gone off topic there a little bit, but it's just I felt it kind of followed through what I was talking about the Mandarin. So that was this was mainly the key theme of the movie in regards to the personal nature, not even just between him and the Shang-Chi and the sister for the death of the mum, but also for Shang-Chi's part with the sister. The relationship that we saw, the relationship was fractured for years because obviously he didn't return when he promised her to, but at the same time he knew he couldn't come back because he was ashamed. You know, he felt like he would have disgraced his dad by not doing what he told him to do. So we did see personal issues from two different sides, from key characters of the movie. So especially when we're looking at it from my origin point of view, I thought this is why I thought the movie was fantastic. It definitely has that. And this is why I'm also, before I even move on to another part I want to talk about, it definitely feels sort of like the Black Panther kind of thing. Like, you saw how Black Panther, okay, I'm not saying it's only for one demographic to enjoy, but you're seeing how they did it for, like, we saw Black Panther was like the first African one, so they delved into the culture. A lot more black people would relate with that. This one was from the Asian perspective, and what I liked about this was how much I like they did with Black Panther, because I know behind the scenes initially they were trying to make a lot of characters. This was from Black Panther. They tried to make a lot of characters maybe speak American in American accent and not use them. Not allow them to be free to embrace their culture. But for these films now, and thank God for Kevin Feige fighting over it, but we now have that. We've now got, from an Asian perspective, Asian movie. Like, I love hearing them speaking their language, you know. So they're not just getting. Thank God they weren't just getting people to try and pretend to talk Chinese. No, you've got the actors from this descent, from the nationality, to come and do the roles. and they would, and it's beautiful to hear them interact in the language. The rest of us can read subtitles; it's fine. So I'm not too sure why there's a lot. There's always going to get like a certain ignorance from a certain group of people against it, but there should be absolutely no problem with it whatsoever. So that's the one thing, and I'm personally hoping, because obviously I'm not Chinese or Asian, so I'm hoping the people there can actually relate, and they say they did them justice to this character, especially when it comes to maybe representing. Obviously I don't know like everything about the culture or what represents what in the culture, but I'm hoping they can actually come out and say that they did well. Do you know what I mean? Mostly Asian cast, they were able to, a lot of the movie was through their own dialect, and I think that's something we've got to be happy about, and hope that the studio continues to embrace, especially as we'll get sequels to Black Panther 2, we'll definitely get Shang-Chi 2, and hopefully we'll get more, you know, more people of colour, more representation for other races to come and have a good superhero movie. Obviously we can incorporate that into the Marvel universe. I've kind of gone a bit off topic, but I still think this is a issue that I kind of just had to address here as well. So this one thing, that's another reason as to why I believe this movie was so good, and the kind of detail and care that they gave for it. Another interesting aspect, let me see what else I got in my notes here. Let me just quickly go on to the casting of the movie, which I thought was significant. What I've noticed sometimes in movies, maybe not just superhero movies, but just some movies in general, they'll always try and go for the Hollywood superstars, people who are well known, famous, etc., etc. This movie, obviously, I don't know whether it's because maybe it's a lesser known character. I think we had quite a few people who maybe we're seeing for the first time. Other people may know them, they may be famous elsewhere, but obviously me for personal, I didn't know everyone there. Obviously I knew Awkwafina, and let me just say, apart from, I know what's his name, Tony Leung as Mandarin, and what's his name as Shang-Chi, I forgot his name already. They were both fantastic in their roles, but I just want to give a big shout out to Awkwafina, because I don't think I ever saw her being in a movie like this, and to see her and to know that she's now going to be an established part, especially if you've seen the end credit, she gave us what Marvel usually do. She gave us that. She gave us the humor. She gave heart. She gave us like a different perspective, being Shang-Chi's close friends. Do you know what I mean? So I thought she absolutely killed her role. She absolutely killed her role, and she just fit in naturally. She's bloody funny. I don't think anyone can actually disagree with how good she is in this movie. She's definitely done well, and I cannot wait to see more of Awkwafina. What else is there? Oh, I think that I just said that now. They didn't need two superstars, and to be fair, sometimes I feel certain films can kind of lack because they've all got too many superstars. I know it sounds a bit weird, but I just feel sometimes it's always best to have maybe lesser known people or people who are still growing. I think they can also, if anything, they can probably give more because they're still trying to grow into a well-known role. Do you know what I mean? So please let me know what you guys think about that. I think the casting of this movie was amazing. Yeah, that's what I think about the cast. Let me know what you guys think. I want to talk about some of the other. It's going back to the story. I didn't expect. Okay, we saw from the trailer. We saw Abomination versus Wong. I don't know if anybody else noticed Helen from the Black Widow movie in one of the cages they were fighting. That's another Easter egg to look out for. So it's really amazing, or it's really, what's the word I'm looking for? It's really interesting to know how they tie these movies together and how they're going to come around explaining how certain things happened. So she was there fighting whoever, but then the Abomination versus Wong fight, not only was it good and funny because of what Wong did to Abomination, but it's interesting to know the roles going forward. For example, you found out that they were actually working together. It was basically a put on fight. So it's like, how did Abomination change? Not just physically, as we know that's his more comic accurate look, but his persona, because before you could see like Emil Blonsky could control himself. He still has the same mindset in the Hulk, but hey, he seems a bit more. I don't know. He seems a bit more. I don't want to say animalistic, but he just seems. He seemed like he was Abomination, but without the Emil Blonsky mindset. Do you know what I mean? So I'm interested to see where one got him from. It looks like he got him from the raft, because I tried to see behind the pool he opened up. So maybe he was taking him back there. Maybe he has an agreement with the government or something to use him for this and that or whatever. I have no idea. But what we do know is that he will be reappearing again in She-Hulk. So looks like we're getting a very interesting arc with Abomination, and also Wong, who's now appearing slowly but surely more and more. Do you know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see where he goes now in the Doctor Strange movie. So yeah, that's another thing I definitely had to bring up. Let me guys know what you think about that. Were there any other cameos or issues linking to other films? I'm pretty sure there was during the film, rather than just the end credits. What was there? Fuck. Well, I can't really, apart from them mentioning about the whole Avengers thing and the blip and all that, but those were the key ones. I'll get back to it if I remember before by the time I finish this video. I want to talk about the action in this movie. There's no way you go a whole video talking about a Marvel movie and not talk about the. Alright, hold on, guys. Let me just check something. 1 second. Nope. Okay, sorry. Just have to keep the light on. Dark outside. I've seen a lot of these reflections and it's like, but it is what it is. Just couldn't bother to do it on my phone because it's still charging. But yeah, okay, the action in this film for me, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's probably got, if not the best hand-to-hand combat in any Marvel film ever. And I just think that's heavily down to not just the people who do the film, the choreography, but it's the style of fighting, like martial arts, kung fu. They use different styles in this movie. I can't remember the other stuff they mentioned anyway. But there's just something visually striking about that, rather than it just being a straight out brawl. Do you know what I mean? Of like just brawl and no technique or something. That's not to say that the Captain America fight between Cap and Bucky wasn't hard, because that is still probably just behind this. But there was something behind watching this. When you're watching kung fu, there's just something watching that about the technique that the fighters use. For example, do you remember the fight scene with him and the dad? Shang-Chi versus the Deathbringer in the building. I don't know if you guys remember that before when Wu came in and stopped it. When they start fighting at the end of the film and they're using the actual 10 rings as well. My God, it was absolutely breathtaking, and it's something that I think you guys should take notice on, especially with the camera work. When they were fighting with the 10 rings at the end of the movie, both of them, you're looking at the camera work, how it works. It just made it so much more better, and in 3D. If you can, guys, watch this movie in 3D. It's actually pretty good. You will notice when he was fighting the dragon. I mean, yes, obviously spoiler alert, but the Soul Suckers, when they came out, when he was fighting the giant Soul Sucker, while he was fighting the Protector, you just see how the camera always turns as Shang-Chi's jumping from one place to one place. Then you're seeing the rings go all over the place. The camera work there, whoever did it should get a pay rise already, because it was just absolutely outstanding. And then you just see the way he just made the Soul Sucker blow up. Put all the rings inside Soul Sucker. I can't do the hand movement anyway. But it was amazing. Again, there's no letdown. They haven't let us down, especially in action terms. Oh, and another shout out. I'd like to give a shout out to the bus scene. Yeah, we know that action's always going to be good, but that, especially that being, okay, it's not the first fight scene, because when we did at the beginning of the scene at the film was nuts. When they were taking over, when he was taking over the other empires, no one can lay a finger. No one can lay a finger with the rings. But I'm giving a shout out to the boss scene, because I just felt that it was not also just it was another level, but because it reminded me in the sense of the Captain America one in the lift. Obviously this one's a bit more space because obviously it's a bus, you go on the long buses, but it was still pretty compact. It was slim, obviously not so much room to go in that sense, so you could easily be overwhelmed. So the choreography to have that fight scene in the lift with like 4 or 5 of them and them was nuts. And even when the bus driver got knocked out, what part of the fight scene did he have to do? Katie was there, but he had to, I forgot what he had to do. I think he had to go to the outside of the bus to try and rescue the other people before coming back. He was just going through the bus, fucking up everyone. Also, I didn't expect that guy to survive, actually. I thought it was just going to be one of those big brutes. And I've even forgot his name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. The guy with the one arm missing, and he can attach weapons to his arm. If anything, he's like a Barret from Final Fantasy, to be honest, if you look at him carefully. Yeah, so I just had to give a special mention to that fight, because it mixed in well with the music as well. Like I said, the fight, and also that's what makes it even, the fighting style in the space that they're in. Do you know what I mean? Again, Captain America, that was a big brawl. But with this one, Simu, that's his name, Simo Liu, I think, yeah, but yeah, you don't know his name. You can't fault him. The guy knows his martial arts. The guy knows his stuff. And yeah, I'm gonna stick by my word and say, especially in terms of action, this is definitely one of the best films in the MCU. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that. I know we've got like big team up movies with the Avengers, but especially in terms of origin movie or a new character movie, sorry, I don't think it should be. I don't think it's not an exaggeration to talk about how good this movie truly was. And the fight scenes is up there. The fight scenes are definitely up there with some of the best in the MCU, along with the music as well. So that's my point on that. Before I even now get to the end credits, I would like to talk about, what do you guys think about the 10 rings and how powerful they are? Because watching that movie kind of makes me feel like we've only just seen what they are capable of. Like, it's the tip of the iceberg in terms of the power that they can produce. So for example, we already know that it made this guy immortal. Essentially, my only question is, could he survive the snap? Could he survive the snap with the 10 rings? Do you know what I mean? And my also second question is, do you think they are as powerful as, say, the Infinity Gauntlet? What do you guys think about that? Since I do believe that there's more to come, well, as we've seen, and I'll talk about an end credit part, this maybe for now, but I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that the 10 rings had the potential to, at the very least, the potential to be as powerful as the Infinity Gauntlet, if not greater. Let's not forget about the other weapons that are available, especially in, like, I think Doctor Strange's Vault and so on like that. There are a lot more mystical products or mystical weapons out there. So they said that with the 10 rings is going to return. Yeah, just how powerful they are, we're not truly sure yet. We do know that there was, and okay, I know I'm going into my next point here now, but we do now know that they're sending a signal to something, as we said by what's his name that said it, Hulk. And funny enough, he was in his normal human form, and that is another category on its own. And also Captain Marvel was there. They're all trying to understand how the 10 ring works, and so on and so forth. It's calling out something, but I would love to see whether they would be able to find a way to incorporate the rings, or make like the finger versions of the rings. Could the finger versions of the rings kind of be offspring of these giant bracelet kind of rings? What do you guys think? Or am I just way off pace? Or does that just sound ridiculous to you to say that there could be offspring of these rings? Because I think it's possible. The power of these rings could be transferred into like smaller rings. So we just have to wait and see. I mean, we did see it in Iron Man 3, but they didn't have the powers and so on. But I'm thinking, based on the fact that Phase 4 has so far has actually kept a lot of things comic accurate, that's not to say that they won't change the rings themselves. They just gave it a new look or something for the time being. So let's not rule that out. But that's my take on the 10 rings, or my theory or questions on them. But we do know that we're going to see them back, and I just don't think it's going to be at the same level as they were here. It's going to probably have to be greater. So yeah, in terms of those end credit scenes I was just mentioning with Banner being back to his former self, so we still need the explanation how he's been able to get over the Hulk and allow him to turn back from Smart Hulk. And Captain Marvel was there, which I wasn't even expecting her. And Wong discussing to Katie and Shang-Chi about the rings, so they now know that it was there 1,000 years at least before. And then also how both of them are now eventually going to be Avengers. They were saying how their lives are now officially changing and they're going to have to get used to it. I can't wait. I mean, I'm not surprised, obviously, Shang-Chi. But Katie, I wasn't expecting that with Katie, you know. She had a very good role in the movie again. I know I haven't really talked too much about her role so far, but to know where she's going, that she's going to be part of it going forward is interesting, which means you get to see Awkwafina and her humour as well. I want to big up her scene when they were training. They managed to get back to Tola or Tarlo, and also big up to Michelle Yeoh. I can't believe I'm on this. I've nearly finished the video and I haven't talked about that scene. So like in the whole Tarlo, Tola, whichever one it is, you know, where what's his name was trying to destroy the place, you know, for not accepting him or the wife, as he was saying. The whole training montage, the whole thing trying to teach Shang-Chi how to embrace his power, I thought that was beautiful. And to see Katie training, learning how to use the arrow, the issue she was having with the old man, like that whole scene was great. I mean, it turned out to be banter as well now. Like, obviously he didn't want her to train. Then he said, no, don't use the arrow. Then he just says, don't die because of the situation. I thought that scene was outstanding. I don't know about you, but I did laugh when obviously they were meant to shoot the arrow at the neck of the dragon. And then just as he was going out, he got caught. And he had his whole his soul sucked out of him. I don't know whether I should have laughed, but I did. And it was funny. But he was such a great character. I do feel sorry for him there. That whole fight scene was nuts, especially in typical fashion. You get that one character who didn't want to join the good guys until they've seen it for themselves. And then my man is like, yeah, I think we should join forces. Okay, but they just told you that 2 seconds ago. And now you want to listen. You always get that. There was another interesting part in that scene. I don't know whether anyone actually noticed. But the first thing that went to my mind was Pokemon. It sounds stupid to say. Can't believe I'm going on this long after I've just talked about the end credit scene. But I just felt I have to pull up on some of the stuff that I missed, because I don't think I've talked about the depth, the actual plot and stuff of the movie, but whatever. What was I saying? Did anyone's first thought watching this movie that you thought you saw a couple of Pokemon? Because when they were going to Tarlo, I think it's Tarlo. I'm going to say Tarlo. I think that's what I keep getting confused. After coming out of the forest, the first thing you saw was two like wolf-like creatures. One of them was a smaller one, and one of them had so many tails. And the first thing that went into my mind was Vulpix, or foxes, Vulpix and Ninetales. Surely people, like, the first thing that went into your mind was that and Pokemon, because you had other creatures which resembled Pokemon. In my opinion, I couldn't tell you which one, but that's almost like what Pokemon should look like if you're making it in actual real life. And I feel like we've kind of got a slight taster of that, you know. So yeah, I'm just gonna come out and say I think we see Pokemon in there. Whether anyone wants to believe that or not, it's up to you. I mean, that's just what went through my mind at the time. It's a Pokemon. Even at the end of the film, it looked like, because I saw until someone else said it, I didn't believe it. Like, my man, they paid homage to Dragon Ball Z. I don't know if anyone saw when he collected all the rings, and then Simu Liu's Shang-Chi had it like this, and it was like a ball of fire in the middle of it. That's basically a representation of the Kamehameha from Dragon Ball Z Goku, innit? So a lot of these little homages, in my opinion, it just made me laugh, and I really did loved it. I mean, if they were intended, and that was their, like, if that's what they were intending as homages, by all means, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I just had to pull up on this particular scene because I feel like it deserved. It definitely deserved a mention. Again, Michelle Yeoh, she's an absolute legend. She's an absolute legend. She had a good role to try and teach Shang-Chi. I like the lessons that she was teaching them and the history that she was teaching them about their culture and the mom. It's a shame that what's his name was so blinded by. It's hard to say. It's hard, but and kind of cruel to say blinded by love, but he was, to the fact that he was now believing something that wasn't true, and that eventually, if anything, was his downfall, and could have been the downfall for everybody else. But at least he redeemed himself anyway, and was still kind of in the books of his son. Gave him the 10 rings as he had his soul sucked. Yeah, and see this kind of like, I know probably it's not in, I know obviously in China I think they have like their own symbolism with dragons and so on. So to see, obviously this is a comic book version of that. Just to see the beauty of the dragon, the land, and the dragon, the protectors, what they believe in and so on, I thought was really beautiful. The imagery and the representation, and again, like I said, the history that she was telling them about it was glorious. So yeah, I mean, mixed in with everything that I've mentioned today, it's not hard to see why this film is a success. I think it's actually on 98%, probably one of the highest Marvel films rated, especially on like Rotten Tomatoes, where those people can be very difficult to please. Yeah, 98%. For me, I love the film so much. I've already watched it twice. No, I already watched it 3 times, and I'm looking to go at least one more time to watch it. So yeah, there's so many characters where we've been introduced to. We understand more about certain people and what their status is within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I am looking forward to now having Shang-Chi as part of the group, and interesting to see Marvel's direction, because we've also seen his sister take over the 10 rings basically, and I can't believe she did that, to be honest, in the last end credit scene. So we're going to see more relationship between her and Shang-Chi, and interesting to see the relationship between them and other heroes when they find out what's been going on and all of this and that. So yeah, so guys, listen, that's gonna be it from me today. I know it's been a bit late for me to do this review, but I just had to do it because like the buzz, while the initial like buzz is gone, the excitement and remembering of it like is still there. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm gonna forget the film or I'm still not gassed by it, but I just felt this film, because I said it reminds me of Black Panther in the way, like for like the first time seeing a certain demographic being represented, I felt this movie deserved the respect, so that's why I decided to do the video, and it definitely deserved the respect from everyone in the world. I really hope everyone can appreciate new culture, do you know what I mean? Yes, not everything might be technically 100% accurate as it is like in real life. Obviously it is comic book movie, so there is some influence from comic books, but I just hope people can appreciate the fact that they're introducing new characters, and you're always learning about new culture in general. If you didn't know some stuff, there's always some stuff you can learn even from the movie. Like, we're gonna get Miss Marvel soon, so that should be another opportunity for good representation as well. I loved it. Massive fan of China, massive fans of Chinese people. I really hope them and other Asians, they love this movie, because just as much as a lot of them would actually did like Black Panther and everybody else as well. So guys, that's my take on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Listen, if you do like this video, please give us a like, subscribe, Please give me some comments. We can always chat in the comment section. I'll definitely be doing one for the Eternals, and I'll probably now wait to the end to do the what if. I'll do a general what if video 100% when that time comes. It's like halfway through now, so I don't think I'm gonna bother just doing like 1 episode, 2 episodes now. I'll just wait. Alright guys, but thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video. Please do give a watch again, as I say, and you lot take it easy. Yeah? I'll see you at my next video.